Cooking was not invented because humans wanted food to taste better. That is the small version of the story. The larger one is stranger. At some point, fire stopped being only warmth, light, and protection. It became part of digestion. Heat began doing work the stomach used to do, and once that happened, the human body started changing around cooked food. Most people imagine the first cook as someone making a choice. A piece of meat falls into the fire. A root gets buried under ash. Someone pulls it out, tastes it, and realizes it is better. Softer, warmer, easier. That may have happened. It probably happened many times. But the important part of the story was not taste. Taste was only the signal. The real change was biological. Start with the problem raw food creates. A raw root does not want to be eaten. It is fibrous, tough, locked behind cell walls the body has to tear open one bite at a time. Raw meat is not passive either. Muscle fibers resist the teeth. Collagen holds tissue together. Chewing takes force. Digestion takes time. The stomach, intestines, liver, pancreas, and jaw all have to spend energy just to make the food usable. Before cooking, the body did all of that work itself. Fire changed the order of the process. Heat breaks things before the mouth does. It softens fibers, it loosens tissue, it gelatinizes starch, it denatures proteins, it turns food from something the body has to fight into something the body can enter more easily. A cooked root is not just a warmer, raw root. A cooked piece of meat is not just meat with smoke on it. It is food that has already begun to surrender. This is where researchers who study human evolution start paying attention. In 2009, Rachel Carmody and Richard Wrangham reviewed the energetic significance of cooking. Their argument was not that cooking simply makes food pleasant. It was that heat changes the amount of usable energy the body can gain from important foods by making starches and proteins easier to digest and reducing the internal cost of processing them. That difference sounds small until you place it inside an ancient body. A stone blade changes what the hand can cut. A spear changes what the arm can kill. But cooking changes what the gut can extract. It takes the same animal, the same tuber, the same seed, and changes how much life the body can pull out of it. The body notices this even if the mind does not. A few years later, Carmody and colleagues tested this more directly. In controlled experiments using animal models, they found that cooked meat produced more usable energy than raw meat. The food itself had not become magic. The fire had simply moved some of the work outside the body. Cooking does not create energy from nothing. It unlocks energy that was harder to reach. For an ancient human, that difference mattered. Imagine trying to build a human day on raw food alone. Hours of chewing, long digestion, more gut work, more time spent turning food into usable fuel. Other primates still live close to that reality. A large ape can spend much of the day eating and processing food because the body has to do the work meal by meal. Humans went in another direction. We built a life around food that had already been changed before it entered the mouth. That decision, if it can even be called a decision, may have helped reshape the body. Human teeth are small for a primate of our size. Our jaws are weaker. Our guts are not built like the guts of animals that spend their lives grinding raw vegetation. We look in some ways like an animal adapted to food that has been softened before it arrives. This is the uncomfortable part. Like, cooking was not just something humans did after becoming human. It may be one of the things the human body adjusted itself around. And then there is the brain. The human brain is expensive. Neuroscientists studying the brain's energy budget have pointed out something strange about it. The brain is only a small fraction of body weight, but it consumes a huge share of the body's energy. A larger brain does not just appear because intelligence is useful. It has to be paid for every day, in calories, in blood, in oxygen, in the constant metabolic cost of keeping billions of neurons alive. If the body cannot afford the brain does not matter. Cooking helped change that budget. By making food easier to digest and more energy-dense in practice, fire may have given early humans access to more usable fuel in less time. Less time chewing, less energy spent breaking food down internally. More energy available for movement, cooperation, tool use, teaching, memory, and eventually the organ that made all of those things more powerful. The fire was outside the body, but its consequences moved inward. This is where cooking becomes stranger than fire. Fire gives warmth. It gives light. It keeps predators at a distance. Those things are important. But other benefits of fire are visible immediately. Heat from cooked food changes something quieter. It changes the relationship between body and environment. The mouth no longer has to be as powerful. The gut no longer has to be as demanding. The day no longer has to be spent chewing for survival. Food begins arriving partly transformed. In that sense, cooking was an external organ. Not literally, but functionally. It performed a step the body otherwise had to perform alone. It took work that belonged to teeth, stomach, and intestine and moved part of it into the flame. Every cooked meal was a small act of outsourcing. The human body began relying on a process happening outside its own skin. That reliance had a cost. An animal that depends on raw food can walk away from fire. Humans became the animal that gathered around it. Fire was dangerous. It burned skin. It filled shelters with smoke. It needed fuel, attention, protection from rain, and knowledge passed from one person to another. A group that lost fire, or failed to control it, lost more than warmth. It lost part of its food system. It lost time. It lost safety. It lost a piece of what its body was beginning to expect. This may be why cooking did not remain a trick. It became a center. Around fire, food changed. Around food, time changed. Around time, groups changed. People could gather after dark. They could share what had been hunted, dug, carried, or saved. They could wait while food softened. They could watch each other, teach each other, remember. A flame does not just heat food. It creates a place where bodies stop moving and minds start paying attention to one another. The exact moment humans learned to cook is hard to recover. Fire leaves traces, but not always clear ones. Ash disappears, hearths scatter, burned bones can come from natural fires. The earliest evidence has to be read carefully. In 2022, Irit Zohar and colleagues published evidence from Geysir Benot Yaakov, showing that fish had been cooked hundreds of thousands of years ago, not simply burned by accident, but heated in a controlled way. By then, cooking was already old enough to have become behavior, knowledge, maybe routine. So the honest answer is that we do not know the first cook. It may not have been one person. It may not have been one discovery. It may have happened slowly, through accidents repeated often enough to become habits, habits useful enough to become tradition, tradition powerful enough to become biology. Some researchers are careful here. Cooking may not explain everything about brain expansion on its own. Human evolution was not a single cause story. Meat, tools, social cooperation, climate, walking, and culture all mattered. But cooking changed the energy problem in a way no other behavior quite did. The first humans who ate cooked food did not know they were changing digestion. They did not know about calories, collagen, starch, gut size, or brain metabolism. They only knew that the food became easier. The body learned the rest. That is the strange part of the story. Culture moved first, biology followed. A hand put food near fire, heat changed the food changed the body. The body helped support a brain that could control fire better, teach it better, remember it better, and build entire nights around it. The loop tightened until humans were no longer simply animals that used fire. We were animals that needed what fire did to food. The first cook may have thought they were making dinner. They were making us.